Well, hello there, and I do hope you're all well. Now, plans to give the government the authority to ignore court decisions it disagrees with would amount to tyranny and spell the end of democracy, according to a former Conservative Attorney General. Dominic Grieve, David Cameron's Cabinet Minister in charge of the judiciary, said Monday's proposals were worrying and would result in the UK no longer living in a parliamentary democracy. It comes after our Alexander Boris Johnson's ally told The Times that the Prime Minister was considering a mechanism that would allow the government to regularly strike out a list of judicial rulings with which it disagreed with. The plans, which would see an annual bill passed to overturn specific decisions, are said to have been devised by the Lord Chancellor, Dominic Raab, and Attorney General Suella Braverman. Our Alexander Boris Johnson is said to believe that the current court bill which has already been chastised by human rights activists, does not go far enough. I bet it don't. No. This bill will impose new limitations on the use of judicial reviews, including in immigration cases. The government has been repeatedly defeated in court over its legal policies, including Brexit and its decision to prorogue Parliament in order to prevent MPs from amending its plans. Now, on Monday, the Prime Minister's lackey, he downplayed the report, telling journalists that he was unaware of any plans to implement the change, though he stopped short of saying such a policy would never be implemented. Mr. Grieve, on the other hand, called the plans another example of the government's failure to understand how the UK's constitution actually works, saying, if you're saying that simply because you have a parliamentary majority, you can overturn judicial decisions at will. Well, yes, technically I suppose you can. But at that point, you are no longer living in a parliamentary democracy. You're actually living in a parliamentary tyranny. And on that basis, you're not going to live in a democracy anymore. It will be something significantly different. And it worries me that the government doesn't seem to be able to see that and seems to be fixated on seeing judges as an obstacle to its aims when actually they're very important in shaping good government. He also added, the interplay between judicial decisions and government decisions is one from which the government should learn and might occasionally should wish to pass a new law as a consequence. But the idea that once a year you pass a law overturning these judicial decisions of review which you don't like is deeply unacceptable and rather worrying. Labour's Shadow Justice Secretary Steve Reid and Labour's Shadow Attorney General Emily Thornberry said in a joint statement that the plans had nothing to do with parliamentary sovereignty. After a week when Number 10 had behaved as though they are above the law when it comes to COVID regulations, we are now told they want to grant themselves the right to ignore the courts altogether, they said. From the bedroom tax to the bombing of Yemen, the judicial review process exists so the public can challenge the government and other public bodies so when it suspects they have broken the law. They added, incredibly, the government plans to subvert that process by taking on even more arbitrary powers and in future change the law to comply with their decisions rather than change their decisions to comply with the law. This has nothing to do with sovereignty of Parliament, but all about the Henry VIII fantasies of a Prime Minister who thinks none of the rules the rest of us have to live by should ever apply to him. Now, Alexander Boris Johnson's lackey played down the report, saying he was unaware of any plans to implement the measure, insisting that The changes in current legislation before Parliament were striking the right balance, and that we fully respect the constitutional position of judges and the judiciary. The Prime Minister is not looking to take that approach, said the lackey, stopping short of denying that such a crackdown would ever be implemented. Now, the thing is, I don't know about you, but it does seem like this band of brigands are trying to basically throw out decisions that they don't like, don't they? They also seem to feel they are above the law as well, don't they? And feel that the rules are just for the little people. Now, we could go through the long list of what this extreme Brexit Tory government seem to be emboldened to try and get away with, but we could be here until the month of Sundays. But the thing is, I do agree with Dominic Grieve. We do seem to be living in a parliamentary tyranny now, don't we? What do you guys think? Right, I shall leave the video here. Until the next time, I shall bid you farewell. Take care.